Hey, welcome. Tonight we're going to talk about the best caliber of handgun for you, the best type of handgun for you, and things that you can do to become a better shot. We'll be right back. Thank you for watching Let's Talk Guns with Pupwud and Ladies Get Your Guns. We'll be right back. Pupwud here. Welcome to Let's Talk Guns with Pupwud and our Ladies Get Your Gun firearms training course. This evening, we're going to talk about the different available calibers of common calibers of handguns and something for you to consider when deciding what type of handgun is going to be right for you. There are literally dozens of different types of handgun calibers. Tonight, we're going to talk about the most common, probably the most common 4 or 5 handgun calibers. The first one we're going to talk about is 22 caliber handgun caliber. 22 caliber is a relatively small bullet. It is 0.22 inches in diameter. It's fairly high velocity, but it's not considered a real self-defense round. And then one of the other most common rounds that we're dealing with these days is a 380 caliber, which is a 0.380 or 380 thousandths of an inch across, or a little over a third of an inch in diameter. And we're going to have a graphic up shortly for you to look at the comparison of those different calibers. And then you've got 38, 357, 9 millimeter, 40 caliber, and 45 caliber. Now, I have literally taught hundreds, if not thousands, of firearms courses, and have had thousands of students come through the doors of our training center. The one question that I get asked the most is, Pupwud, what is the best caliber? And my standard answer to that is always the one that you can hit your target with. And a lot of people kind of scoff at that answer, but it's really true. If I shoot at you with a 22 caliber and hit you, it is more effective than shooting at you with a 45 caliber and missing, even though they're two very, very distinctly different calibers. A lot of that's going to depend upon your purpose of the firearm. If you want a firearm for inexpensive plinking, then shooting at targets in the backyard, then the 22 caliber is relatively inexpensive and it's easy to shoot. There's not much recoil associated with it. And then, of course, as you go up progressively in handgun calibers, the recoil gets more difficult to manage. The most popular by far handgun caliber in semi-automatic handgun is 9 millimeter, and one of the most common calibers for handgun calibers in revolvers is a 38 special. Both of those are very effective rounds. Many years ago, 9 millimeter had a bad reputation for over penetration, and because it was a full metal jacket bullet, it didn't have any expansion capabilities. But now the modern day self-defense rounds that are manufactured by some of your very, very reputable ammunition manufacturers, Georgia Arms, Hornady, Remington, a lot of those produce a specific self-defense handgun projectile. And any of those calibers, 380, 9 millimeter, 38 special, are going to be very effective if you're using it for self-defense. If you're going to be using it solely for target practice, then your 9 millimeter, 380, 38 special full metal jacket rounds that are not designed for self-defense are very, very easily accessible in the current days of ammunition shortage. So just be aware of that. That's something to consider. 380, 9 millimeter, 38 special, 40 caliber, and 45 caliber are all very common handgun rounds. They are easily accessible. Even in the days of ammunition shortage, you can still find those rounds readily available. There are some other rounds that are less known that are very good handgun rounds. They're just not as readily available. They're not as popular. And those two rounds are usually going to be your 45 Gap, which is a projectile or a cartridge that was created by Glock Incorporated. And then you've got the 357 SIG, which is a cartridge that was created by Sig Sauer Company. Both of those are very effective rounds, but they're not readily available, and they're a little pricey. Another thing that you may want to consider in your decision which caliber handgun you're going to buy is the price point for the ammunition. Some of these less popular, even though very good rounds, 45 Gap, 357 SIG, are very expensive, and because they're not readily available on the market. 40 caliber, 40 cal Smith & Wesson, as it is also known, did not used to be extremely popular, and there wasn't a lot of market for it, and it was an expensive round for a period of time. 38 Special 9mm have literally been around for years and years, and the price point comes down quite a bit on those. So something to consider is what you're going to be using your gun for, what you're going to be using the caliber for. You can get a 9mm or 38 Special or 40 cal nowadays that is very effective for target practice and self-defense, so you can have a multi-purpose firearm. So that, combined with the price of the ammunition, will help you make a decision. But it really does all come down to if you have to use it for self-defense, which caliber you can control the best and hit your target with. You can go to pretty much any reputable local firing range, and you can rent a handgun in any of the aforementioned calibers: 22, 380, 9mm, 38 Special, 40 cal, 45, and you can test fire those guns, and you can find which one you can control the best. And that may be the caliber that's best for you. It will vary from person to person, and the controllability of the gun will vary from person to person as well. And you may just decide that you like 9mm better than you do 40 caliber simply because of the recoil, or you like 38 Special better than you do 9mm because it's a revolver cartridge, and you like revolvers better than semi-automatic handguns. But those are some of your most popular calibers, and those are some of the things that you need to consider when making your selection for the caliber of handgun that you're going to purchase, or that you're going to request someone to buy you for a special anniversary, birthday, or Christmas present, because those are also always good times for someone to gift you a gun. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is the type of handgun. There are usually two types of handguns. You got semi-automatic handguns and revolvers. The two things you need to ask yourself about the handgun that you're going to purchase is, am I going to carry it on a daily basis? Am I going to use it for self-defense? Or is it just going to be something that I keep at my house, use only in the event of an emergency, take it to the firing range, and plink with it every now and then? So those are some things that you need to consider. A good all-around handgun is going to be a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. And there are all of your major manufacturers have a very concealable, but yet very easily manageable 9mm handgun. Smith & Wesson, Glock, Sig Sauer, Springfield Armory, Taurus, and probably any number of others that I've left out, all have very, very good quality 9mm handguns. Just keep in mind that if you decide to purchase a semi-automatic handgun, you are going to have to commit to some additional practice to become proficient with that semi-automatic handgun. It is a little more difficult to master than a revolver is, because there are more steps to loading, unloading, and the revolver basically has more moving parts than the semi-automatic handgun has more moving parts than the revolver. The revolver is simply you open the cylinder, put the bullets in, close the cylinder, and it's ready to go. Two things to compare with that is magazine capacity for the semi-automatic handgun and your revolver capacity, which on your smaller frame revolvers, like you would carry for a concealed handgun, is usually only going to be 5 or 6. Your larger revolvers potentially could be 6 or 7, depending upon your price point on that as well. But you're most of the time going to be dealing with a small concealable revolver with only 5 rounds. Even the Glock Model 43, which has a very small magazine that you see here, this magazine holds 7 rounds with 1 in the chamber of the magazine. That's an 8-round capacity that you're carrying. And if you carry another magazine on your belt, then you've got additional rounds there should they ever be needed in an emergency situation. So you have to consider size of the gun, round count or magazine capacity, or capacity of the gun. And then again, it comes back down to how much are you going to practice with that firearm. That one should help you make a decision as to which one you're going to choose, a revolver or a semi-automatic handgun. Again, consider the purpose. Is it going to be strictly for self-defense, or are you going to carry it concealed? Take into consideration all of those things. Don't forget on this video as well to please comment. If you have questions, put them in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please share this video with any of your friends that may also be interested in what type of or what caliber of handgun to buy and what type of handgun, semi-automatic or revolver. But again, it comes back to the purpose and how proficient you are willing to become with that handgun as to which one's going to be best for you. At one point, I had said earlier that, what's going to be the perfect handgun? Well, there is no perfect handgun. And reality is that everybody likes something a little bit different. I've got friends that swear by Smith & Wesson. I've got friends that swear by Sig Sauer. And I've got other friends that would never own anything but a Glock. It's whatever you are proficient with, and it's whatever you become competent and confident with that particular handgun. So those are all points to consider for your potential handgun purchase or requesting it as a gift from a special loved one. So at this time, we're now going to look at questions that have came in from our students. These are some students that have taken our classes, and they have some additional questions. Also, don't forget, you can, if you're interested in these classes, you can go on to our pupwud.com, that's PUPWUD.com website, and click on Ladies Get Your Gun. We have both an introductory course there, as well as our basic training course, which is a 6-module basic training course that will walk you through the basics of semi-automatic handgun use. Okay. Also, you have the option on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday night of the month of joining our chats, and you can upload your targets, and we'll look at that. And we'll do some target evaluation for you. And speaking of that, I'm going to read a couple of questions for you from our students that I have available. This one says, Pupwud, when I'm shooting, I can't get a good group of shots. I'm all over the place. What are some tips to help me get tighter groups or to tighten to make a smaller shot group? Well, there's any number of reasons that could cause your targets, your shots to be all over the target. Believe it or not, most of the time, it is because people are at the firing range, they've watched too much television, and they want to shoot too fast. you've got your marksmanship fundamentals that we talk about in our basic training course, and you have to put those into practice. Main thing is taking a good deep breath, relax, and fire during that natural 3 to 5 second pause. Firing slowly and pulling the trigger and letting it be a surprise when the gun fires is one of the best ways to tighten up your shot group. If you're jerking the trigger and you know exactly when the shot is going to break, a lot of people have the tendency to what we refer to as anticipate recoil, and you'll push forward on the gun to compensate for the recoil, and it'll make your shots go low on the target or potentially off the target. Also, if you're pulling the trigger too quickly, you can't keep your sights on target, and you may have shots literally all over the target, and you don't know where they're going to go when you pull the trigger. So the biggest thing I can tell you, the most common thing, is to slow down, take your time, and practice the marksmanship fundamentals is going to help you tighten up your shot group. Okay. Also, again, a reminder, make sure you send in your pictures of your targets, your practice targets, and we can do some target evaluation and give you some ideas of what might help you move your target more towards center mass, or your shot group more towards center mass of your target, or if you've got a group that's all over the place, some things that you can do to tighten up that shot group. Okay. One of the next questions is, I've gone through the introductory course, but I'm still a little intimidated with my gun. What should I do next? The biggest way that you can become more proficient, and I don't want to say comfortable, because we never want to be comfortable with a gun. We want to respect the firearm. So the way that you can become, have a more respectful relationship with your gun is to practice. You've got to set aside some time to practice. If you don't use that firearm, you will continue to be intimidated with it, and you're not going to develop that safe, confident, competent mindset that we want the people that complete our training courses to achieve. Another thing that you can do is you can, if you've only attended the introductory course, you can attend our or upgrade to our basic training course, which is a 6-module, about 6.5-ish hour training presentation that talks specifically about more things that can cause you to be a more proficient marksman with your handgun. So it's just something to consider, but perfect practice makes perfect. You've got to commit to practicing with that handgun. The more you use it, the more familiar you will become with that handgun, and the intimidation factor will be less and less every time you load, unload, fire, clean, load, unload, fire, clean, and especially if you're doing dry fire practice, practicing those marksmanship fundamentals are going to decrease the intimidation factor dramatically. Okay, so that looks, don't forget, we talked about the targets. Send those, you can email those targets to info@pupwud.com. That's info@pupwud.com, and we'll do a free target evaluation for you. That's all for today's chat. I hope you've enjoyed everything. Hope you found it informative. Again, don't forget to comment, share the video with any of your friends, like and hit the notifications button, like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button, and you'll be notified when we have new content on our YouTube channel. At this time, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you from Pupwud and Kelly. Be safe, shoot straight, and we'll see you next time.